I just returned from a 7-day adventure country trek tour in Italy. It's an on and off-road tour with a brand new Lone Rider ADV bags. If you're interested in my initial findings and how these bags were on the trip, stay tuned. What's up, my biker friends, and welcome back to another video. My name is Oliver, and today I'm reviewing the Lone Rider ADV bags. I've had an opportunity to test these bags in kind of the environment that they were built for, and I was at the adventure country trek in Italy. It's an on and off-road itinerary over 5 days. The total trip was 7 days long, so I could test these out in sort of on-road and off-road environments, and also check out the usability. How do you use these bags, how they were as compared to some of the other stuff that I've had. I will go into how they compare to some of the other Lone Rider products. I've had the moto bags that I've used in Iceland, much bigger capacity, completely different setup. I've had other soft bags in the past, and I will go into the sort of concerns that I had with these bags and sort of the hopes as I go into the single sections, and hopefully get something out of it if you're looking at bags like these or this particular ADV bag that will help you make a decision if you want this or something else. For transparency reasons, Lone Rider has sent me the bags just like they sent me the moto bags. No money exchanged hands. They didn't get to see this review up front, so these opinions are mine, my experiences. I'm just going to share them, and hopefully they will help you with your choice making. So I just returned from a 2-week trip. It was the ACT in Italy. That was the first trip, and then the Trans-Italian Marathon after that. I just returned in the rain. I still have my riding gear on because it's still pretty cold. It's getting pretty cold because we're getting closer to the fall now. So I wanted to get this review out of the way to get you guys something to think about over the winter time. Let's start with the first impression of the quality. I'm not going to do any unpacking or installation. That's actually well covered in the Lone Rider video. If you're interested in that, how that gets mounted, it's actually pretty simple to keep it short. Just 6 straps that mount sort of the base carrier to the bike and the holsters and the beaver tail part, and then you put the the 3 single bags into the setup. So that's pretty straightforward. I want to cover the usability of the bags, especially now having used it in my particular setup with camera equipment and having enough stuff for 2 weeks basically. Before I do, a quick word on the quality. Now, I've used Lone Rider equipment before. I have that tent, I have the moto bags, I got the moto lights on the bike, so I'm used to pretty good quality, and these bags don't disappoint. If you take them out of the packaging, it's pretty sort of sturdy material for the dry bags, and all the nylon and everything looks high quality. Is something, it has a nice feel to it. Of course, longevity, I haven't tried it yet. It's just one trip. A long distance trip, I have to say, but it looks pretty robust to me, just like some of the other stuff that they have. Now, some of the concerns that I had initially, I wasn't quite sure going with a holster system now versus the saddlebags that I used to have. I had saddlebags that were made by Endurostan, actually sold by Touratech. It's the Touratech version of it, but these are saddlebags, so they're single layer bags that go onto the bike. And the issue with that is that they have a funny shape, so it isn't always easy to put certain things on those bags. So I wasn't quite sure if I was going to be able to fit more. They have more volume and more capacity, but also certain things like my laptop, for example, which didn't fit in my Touratech bag, if they would actually fit into the Lone Rider bags. That was one of the concerns I had. The other one was how easy it would be to sort of remove the bags and put them back in again. If it's like fiddly, to stuff everything in your bag. That was a bit of a concern. And then of course how I would use my camera setup, because if you know some of my older videos, I have a pellet case that I put on the back, and I don't have that with this setup, so I had to use the top bag for my camera equipment. So I go into that as I go to the sort of separate parts of the bag to see how that actually turned out for me and how that compared to some of the other setups that I've had. Let's start with the side bags. It's a holster system, so this holster stays on the bike, and then you have the dry bags that go into it. Now, Laundry are not the first ones to come up with the holster system. There's quite a few other products on the market. The best known probably is the Moto system that has a lot of parts that you would see on this bag here. I guess there's only so much you can do with the holster system, but they try to make improvements on it. And one of the things that I really appreciate is that it's actually quite easy to put these bags in. They're pretty wet now at the moment, but if I take them out, there's a little security strap in here, and then you have to loosen the compression strap, which is also nice. Just came back from a 700 kilometer ride, so I put a lot of compression on, but they slide out in and out pretty easily, especially when they're loaded. When they're heavy, it's pretty easy to slide them in and out, so I think I appreciate that. You actually see the bag as well. They're 25 liters in capacity each, and they have this clear window so you can see your stuff inside, just in case you forgot what you put in. And then you put them in. There's a pull tab on the bottom, just in case you can't get them fully in. Usually if they're fully loaded, it's not a problem. Once you put them in, there's a security strap that you can sort of put on top of the bag. And one of the neat things about this setup is it has this little magnetic buckle. So they're the only ones using this type of sort of closure system that I've seen for bags. Usually it's those clip buckles. This one is magnetic, and it makes it really easy, especially in sort of harder to reach places. If you have to reach back a little bit, and it just kind of clicks into place. Really appreciated that kind of design. It's all over the place. Same with the beaver tails. Open the beaver tail up. It's just clicking the buttons, and especially when you want to get tension on it on the closure system, click buckles would be more difficult. Here you just align them, put them down, and you're done. And it's the same up here. So that's a nice little touch to the bags. Other than that, these bags are bigger than what I've had. I had 20 liters on each side on my previous setup. This is 25 liters, so 50 liters in total for both bags. That's enough for me to carry all my stuff, minus the camera equipment. So these ones are fully loaded because I packed for 3 seasons really, for cold weather all the way up to high temperatures. That's enough capacity for me to pack all the stuff. And then on the top bag is all my camera equipment and the drone equipment, which I'll show you in a second. Let's have a quick look at the top bag. The system fully loaded, so I'm just going to show you how to unpack it. It's the reverse to pack it. There's a beaver tail that basically encloses the bag that sits on top here. There's an additional Velcro at the bottom just to keep it in place. It's not enough to keep it fully in place, but it's not shifting side to side. And then you put the beaver tail on and basically secure the bag. What I like about the setup is that you have openings on both sides of this bag. And I have 2 drones that I bring with me. So it was one of the biggest concerns. How do I get to my camera equipment quickly without having to unload everything? So I tried different setups, and what I ended up using is having one drone on this side. It's a DJI Air 3 drone. So I can open this, and I can open this. It's a little fiddly, but I can open it with the beaver tail closed and get to the drone, do my drone shots, put it back in. And then the Skydio drone, it's the one that's self-flying, and has all these nice shots when I'm riding or we're riding the bike. That's on the other side. So it makes that quite convenient. It's not as convenient as the pellet case. For obvious reasons, just flip up the lid and you get access to the drones. It's not that quick, but it's quick enough, especially considering that this is sort of a all soft luggage setup, and also quite a bit lighter. If I compare the weight of this setup to my pellet case, it has a quick release place, and it's at least twice the weight, just the empty case to this empty setup here. So that worked quite well. It's a very particular use that I have. Like I said, I can deal with the 25 liter bags, fit all my stuff. If you don't have camera equipment, this is an additional 20 liters that you can use for whatever. But for me, that was quite important. So I was really tinkering around how to work with that. Tried the drones in the side case. That is an option, but not for the bigger Skydio drone. That doesn't really work. There's enough space also for a tool case, for a tire pump, and for sort of a battery quick charger. Or starter kit, actually. It's like a power bank with a starter kit. There's enough room under the Skydio drone. So all that sits on top of the bike for me, and that worked quite well. Also on the off-road tracks, with the vibrations. And there's rubber straps, if you want to put some wet coat or anything on. I actually used them a couple of times. And then sort of, you know, the typical storage pouches here, which I didn't really end up using, but that's quite nice. Also, you can see the buckles in action, the magnetic buckles up here. Especially if you had, you know, have the length set already, then it's pretty easy to just go in and then, you know, close this up. It's much quicker than the click buckles. They're plastic, they're not metal. I had no issues with the short use that I've had, but of course that's always a concern if there's plastic versus metal, but I think these have to be plastic. It's going to be hard to make these out of metal. They're robust enough for what I use them and the convenience of it, because, you know, this setup here is probably a bit less convenient than, let's say, a regular setup with like Pioneers or even the Moto bags, which are not easy to pack and not easy to get to. So having something like this to just kind of speed up the time to get to your stuff and load the bags, I really appreciate it. And they're the only ones that do this at the moment. So that's quite nice. I really like that. I knew about this feature, but I didn't think it's going to be that much of a, I'm not saying game changer, but it really is an innovation that makes a difference. I already opened up one of the bags, and if you know the Overlander bag or have seen the Overlander bag, what Lone Rider does to some of the bags, the dry bags that they put this extra sort of clear plastic to the inside of the bag. And I didn't quite know what it was for initially, but it helps to seal the bag a bit better. So if you roll up the bag like this, you know, and it's at the moment it's loaded on the bike, if you roll it up like this, it has a really tight seal, and then you basically close the magnetic buckle again on this case, and then this one is like half empty now. But if you squeeze out the air, or try to squeeze out the air, you can tell it's trapped in there. So if air doesn't go out, that means water doesn't come in. In order to sort of compress your stuff a bit more, they have air valves in here. They look a little different than the ones on the Overlander bag, but the functionality is the same. They're on all of these bags, so you can compress them a little better and get the air out and just have it a really compact setup. Just like on the other bags that Lone Rider makes, there's all these MOLLE panels everywhere, so you can customize your setup and add sort of accessories to it. I opted for the bottle holders that I had for my Moto bags. So there's two bottle holders next to each other. I use one for bottle and the other one I use for snacks, just putting sort of muesli bars in there to have a little bit of snack on the trail. But you can attach a mini bag or anything else that you have on here or on the side. The capacity actually was enough, so I didn't need to add more bags to it, but you can if you want to. One more note on the design overall. I think just like some of the other stuff that they make, somehow the design, it is functional, but it looks cool too. You know, it gets dirty, but when it's brand new, it looks really nice, just like the Moto bags and some of the other equipment that they make. So they're not just making sure it's functional, but that it looks nice. You see plenty of influencers driving around taking photos and videos with the bikes with just the bags on because they look nice and make the bike look nice. And I also think these are some of the nicest looking bags out there, if that's important to you. One of the final concerns that I had, aside from the fact of how easy it is to remove the dry bags from the holsters, or would I be able to carry my camera equipment, was how much can I actually fit in these bags. Now they're pretty narrow, as you can see. This just comes with the design. But one of the issues that I had with my previous setup is I couldn't fit certain things in it. So these saddleback design bags that I have, they couldn't fit my laptop. It's not a big laptop, it's a 13-inch laptop. The sleeve is a little big, so I tried that and it actually fits my laptop. It probably would fit a 15-inch laptop as well, but it's in sort of the inside of the bag, and then I take sort of packing cubes around it to organize my stuff in it. But the most important thing is that I can fit the laptop in there, because I didn't want to put it in the top bag because I needed the space for the drones in there. So that's a big advantage that I saw with this setup. Plus the extra 10 liters that I have. Another big setup is, this is a perfect example. Now it's been raining, it's dirty outside. If you're riding this bike in the mud, you can see it's been getting pretty dirty from what I've been doing with it. My old saddlebag system, you had to remove the entire system and you had to bring the entire system to the hotel room, and it was sometimes dripping with mud. Not something you necessarily want to do. With the holster system like this, the holster and all that setup stays with the bike, and you just take the dry bags out and bring them to the hotel room. Also, with some of my older stuff, with the drone case and all the things, I usually have to walk twice to bring everything to the room. With this setup, I can do a single walk. It's a lot of stuff to bring. I bring more stuff than most people because of the cameras, but I can carry it all in one hand. That's another nice advantage of it. But I think the biggest advantage is that the holsters stay on the bike, and that you can take sort of clean dry bags to the room. And it's also a much quicker setup because the holster stays on the bike. With a saddlebag system, you have to strap the saddlebags to the bike every time. I use quick release buckles for that to make it a bit faster, but it's still a lot longer of a setup. This is super fast, taking the bags out, taking the top bag off, and leave the rest on the bike. And from the speed of it, that was really nice. Another thing that I noticed, especially compared to the moto bags that I had for my Iceland trip, they're much wider. They need a luggage rack. They stick out quite a bit. This is a very, very slim design, especially today. It was a busy day. It's probably one of the last nice days in autumn here. It's the beginning of October. The Autobahn from Italy, I was coming from the southern part of Italy, going to Munich, was packed. So if you want to filter through traffic with big panniers, that would have been impossible for me doing that same thing with the motorbikes. These are slim enough that we could go, I don't know, easily 30 kilometers. We were filtering through traffic because it was so bad. So having a slim setup doesn't always help you with the off-road part, because that makes sense as well. Slimmer setup, of course, you're not hitting any trees or branches, but also just getting there and driving around in the city. Having a slimmer setup makes it so much easier to weasel through traffic. I dropped the bike with this setup. And one of the benefits, of course, of soft bags is it kind of dampens the fall quite a bit. It was on pavement, actually. I dropped the bike, it fell on the side, and you can't even hear it fall, actually. It just kind of buffens the sound of it. The bags didn't have a scratch, but of course it wasn't at speed. It just fell over, basically. So you have that with the soft bags, harder cases or hard cases in general. They will dent. This, of course, will not dent, which is quite nice. Another observation I've made is the sort of high speed part of it. That's probably not very relevant to a lot of people outside of Germany, but the tires I have on here, those are Dunlop Tramax Rate tires. They go up to 190, and I tried the speed with this. So with this setup, with any luggage setup, it sort of influences the high speed stability of these bikes, especially the KTM here, but it'll do the same for the other bikes as well. So if you have wide boxes and have a lot of wind resistant, you can't go that fast. So with the moto bags, I think the top speed I was going was 150, maybe 155, because they came out that wide. With this setup here, 190, which is the top rating of the tires, is no problem. I wasn't going that fast for most of the time, but I tried it to see how it is. And there is very little sort of wind resistance just from the setup, quite sleek, really. So that was quite nice. So for you guys that are traveling a bit fast on the German Autobahn, the setup will definitely be better than, let's say, bigger boxes or the semi-rigid bags that Lone Rider makes. So in conclusion, I am super happy with the bags. What I really appreciated was the ease of use. Just moving the dry bags and taking the top bag off just took seconds. And before that was quite fiddly to get, my 50-liter roll top off, and then the saddlebags, and then even those quick release, the drone case, and all that was so heavy that I would have to walk twice most of the time. With this setup, I could carry all of it, including the tank bag, my helmet, in one go. It's kind of heavy, but I can grab it all and bring it up to the hotel room. So it saved me one trip up to the room, which made a huge difference. I like the idea that I can fit my laptop in there, put it on the inside, so if the bag falls on the ground, the laptop is protected. I like the fact that I can get to my drones, especially with the bags that open on both sides. Other systems only have sort of the top side that open, so you have to open a beaver tail to get to your bag. This setup, you can get to the side of the bags without opening the beaver tail, which is really, really nice. I like the idea you can customize it a little bit. I didn't want to add too many more bags to it, but having the bottle holders here is quite nice. Just for a quick drink, that was really, really cool. And then having additional straps like this one here, where I bring additional bags for the other trip that I had, the Trans-Italien Marathon. So if you're in the market for a bag system like this, you have another great option to look at. I like the design of it, just the looks of it too, which makes a difference, but more importantly actually is the functionality. So having these magnetic quick buckles, great idea. Having the sort of pressure release valves, I use them all the time, compressing the bags, and just you know, the compression straps. I thought of everything on this bag setup. Really nice. It was initially probably designed with more mid-range adventure bikes in mind, but as you can see, it fits really well on a quite dirty KTM now. Same on the 1300 GS, so it looks great because it has a lot of capacity. 70 liters is more than enough. If you have to bring more, you're probably bringing too much. So it's got enough capacity. It looks good on the big bike as well, and has the same functionality. If you have questions or comments, something I didn't cover in this video, put them in the comment section. I'll try to answer best I can. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, ride safe and stay awesome.